What's up guys, Sebby here, welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make light up Spider-Man lenses as seen in Infinity War, Endgame, and Far From Home. These are going to go with the Iron Spider suit, as you guys can see right there. Now I have made these before, and I made them for a video where I showcased a little bit of them, and I showed the inside of the mask and its workings. So that video will be up here, so if you guys want to check that one out, go check it out. But I didn't exactly show it how to do it. So this is a full-on tutorial of me doing the process, fitting all the electronics into the mask and the face shell, and showing you guys how everything is done all the way through step 1 to it being finished. So I'm going to be showing you guys everything. All the materials and things you will need will be linked in the description, so you guys can go ahead and pick those up to make one for yourself. So let's hop into it.
Alright guys, so I'm going to start out with installing magnets into my lens frames. I got these lens frames from an old Spider-Man Homecoming toy, and I just drilled some holes into the back of them to fit the magnets that I already had. I'm using some super glue to install the magnets, and then I'm putting magnets on the other side of the lens to keep them in place while they dry. I could then move on to the other lens and make sure that both lenses are fully glued with the magnets, and once the glue is dry, I can then take the magnets off of the other side so that the lens frames are officially done with the magnets installed. Then I can put them on the shell to make sure that they fully fit and are positioned where I want them. Next, I apply some hot glue to the back side of the lens frame so that I can attach some mesh onto there. Now the mesh that I am using is metal mesh from an old speaker, and it works perfectly for this. I then do the other lens the same exact way, and then I put it on the face shell, and I have a full finished face shell, and the magnets are pretty strong and they stay on there. Next, it's time to install the LEDs, but first we have to cover up all the holes in the face shell to make sure that no light comes through. So I just use some black duct tape to cover up all the ventilation holes. It makes it a little bit harder to breathe, but it definitely gives a better result. So the LEDs I'm using, they're like these little poster board lights that are connected to a battery pack, and they're like $7 on Amazon. They're originally a bright daytime light in color, but I used a light blue Sharpie and colored over them to get that neon blue glow that Spidey has in the movie. So you want to make sure that when you place your first LED that the battery pack has as much slack as possible so that you can tuck it in and hide it in the collar of your costume. I also went ahead and evenly marked out the placement for the lights, placing 5 on top and 5 on bottom for each lens, equaling 20 in total, considering there are 20 total LEDs. So next up, you want to take all your LEDs and start to hot glue them down in the places where you marked them around the holes of the face shell, and just make sure that they are fully dried, and then just keep testing it by turning the lights on and looking through the front to see where you need to push the lights back. You don't want them sticking out of the holes too much. I like to take some duct tape and reinforce the lights with some strips of it and just tape the lights down to the shell, and also cover the whole side of the LED. What this does is it helps the light to project forward onto the white lens rather than going out into the shell. Make sure you're constantly turning the lights on as you do this so that you can see how it's going to look when it's finished and fix any mistakes along the way. Once you do one side, it's time to do the other one. Once both sides are done, you are now finished with all of the electronics. Make sure to test it and to make sure that everything is placed correctly and working properly. Now if you want, you can actually duct tape all the wires down to the face shell. What this will do is it'll just help all the wires not be free falling and moving while you're wearing the mask, and it'll just make it a lot cleaner. I chose personally not to do it just because I didn't really think I needed it, but yeah. Next, it's time to make the mesh that goes on the inside of the shell to light it up. It must be a fine-holed mesh where you can't see from the outside in. This is very important because with all the LEDs near your eyes, others are able to see in them. So, by putting a fine mesh in there, it'll hide your face and eyes perfectly in the mask. Now, I'm just using some mesh from a child's swim trunk I found, and I'm painting it white because it was black. This works perfectly because the mesh is nice and fine and you can't see anything through it. Once the paint's all dried, I can then start to cut it out and split it into 2 pieces that I can put over the eye holes in the face shell inside. I like to test it by holding the mesh over the LEDs inside the shell and then turning it over to see what it looks like. This helps me see if everything is coming together properly and if it's giving off that bright glow that I want. Now it's time to actually put the mesh in, so I'm going to place some hot glue on there and set the mesh in place. Once that dries, I can then flip it over and put the actual lens onto the shell to see what it'll look like. For example, this right lens on here does not have the mesh on the inside, so when I put my fingers behind here, you can clearly see them with the lights. But on the other one with the mesh, you can't see anything at all, which is what we want. And so that's why it's important to put the mesh behind. So now we are done with the shell and the lights and all the electronics, and they are super bright when they're turned on, and they have that same glowing effect as seen on the Iron Spider suit in the movie. But next it's time to install the mask and line it up so we can finish it off. You want to put the mask over the shell and cut eye holes about as big as the holes in the shell, so that when you put it on, you can glue it. I line my mask up roughly and place the lenses on there to make sure that everything looks good. I then take the lenses off because now it's time to get the mask glued down. I glue the center circle down first because that's the most important part that needs to be lined up. I then place the lenses on there to check my work, and then I can move on to the edges of the eye holes. Here you can see I am slowly getting the edges of the mask glued down, and I'm just taking my time and trying to get as much wrinkles out as I possibly can. I suggest putting the mask onto a mannequin head, which helps stretch out the fabric so you can get a feel of what it would look like if it was on a human head. This is what I did, and it worked really good. After doing the right lens, I then do the left lens the same exact way, and then I should be done with gluing the mask down. These are the only places of the mask where you need to glue them down, and it works just fine. And there is the finished result of the light up LED Iron Spider lenses. The lights also have a flickering mode which you can put on if you would like.
Alright guys, so here is what the LED lenses look like. They look really good on the finished Iron Spider costume. So the light is very bright and it's very even, which is really nice. And you guys can see that, take that out, and there are the lights in there. So just put the lens right over that. So yeah, it looks pretty good. The visibility when the lights are on isn't that great. You can't really see anything at all, actually. I can see the camera because it's very bright, the screen, but when the eyes are turned off, you can see completely normal, just as you would in any Spider-Man suit. I actually hid the battery pack in the neck. It's tucked into the collar, so I ran the wire down, and then I just tucked in the rest of the mask. So when you want to turn it on, you can just take your hand, reach it back there, and then flip the switch, and there you guys go. The eyes light up. So that is the tutorial for the light up Iron Spider lenses. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you found this useful, or if you made these, make sure to smash that like button. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and subscribe if you guys are new. I'll see you guys in the next one. Deuces, don't forget to stay creative.